Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more news and politics from around the world. This time for Friday, November the 15th, 2024. I guess Friday, yeah. Anyway, today, first thing we're going to look at: whistleblower sounds the alarm about destruction of tribal sites in North Carolina. When we're talking about this and it being from the Appalachia Reddit, we're probably talking about Cherokee sites. Uh, on April the 16th, 2024, Scott Ashcraft, an archaeologist and heritage resources program manager from the Pisgah National Forest, examining a quartz vein of at a prehistoric quarry site near Asheville, North Carolina. So yeah, we're probably looking at Cherokee heritage sites, or it may even be older. Being honest with you, spear points, hammerstones, and picks lost to history under layers of leaves, roots, and rocks. It was the evidence Scott Ashcraft was looking for. The ancient tools were inadvertently unearthed in 2021 by a bulldozer fighting a wildfire along the steep slope in western North Carolina. Ashcraft, a career U.S. Forest Service archaeologist, knew these wooded mountainsides held more clues to early human history in the Appalachian Mountains than anyone had imagined. He tried for years to raise the alarm to forest managers, saying outdated modeling that ignored the artifacts, sometimes hidden on steep terrain, especially sites significant to Native American tribes, needed to be reconsidered when planning for prescribed fires, logging projects, new recreational trails, and other work on national forest lands. Instead, Ashcraft says managers retaliated against him and pushed ahead with their plans, often violating historic preservation and environmental protection laws by sidestepping consultations with tribes, limiting input from state archaeologists, and systemically suppressing scientific data. In a letter shared with the Associated Press, Ashcraft sent his concerns Thursday to top officials in the U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Interior Department, White House Council on Native American Affairs, and National Congress of American Indians. He described an escalating pattern of illegal, unethical, and irresponsible behavior by forest managers in North Carolina that stands in sharp contrast to the historic strides the Biden administration has made nationally to include indigenous expertise when making decisions about public land management. Yeah, almost all the U.S. was purposeful to the tribes that were here before the European entry. And this region of Appalachia was well known for the Cherokee. They held most of Kentucky and Tennessee and a good portion of North Carolina and Virginia, and parts of West Virginia. So yeah, their range was pretty good size. So yeah. Although the case focuses on a single state, Ashcraft said it highlights a bigger problem, that there are no guardrails to keep the Forest Service from using outdated modeling and skirting requirements to consult with tribes before moving ahead with projects. The letter is the latest salvo in a federal whistleblower case that began when Ashcraft filed a lengthy disclosure with the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Inspector General in 2023. That office turned the case back to the Forest Service, where regional officers declared that legal requirements had been met. The whistleblower disclosure gained the attention of preservation experts and other researchers as hostility by forest managers mounted against Ashcraft. The Heritage Resources Program Manager for the Pisgah National Forest. Even those who are supposed to be in charge would gladly sell off these things that are important for an extra buck. People like that should be fired from their positions. Now let's look at some data sets. The decimation of wildlife is worst in Latin America. 100% is where we're starting from at approximately 1970. Just because that was the starting point for keeping up with a lot of this. But, as you can see, North America for a while had really stocked up its wildlife. And as you can see, it's fallen well below 100% now. It's almost at 50%. %60 is about where we're at, yeah. Central Asia, it's just a continuous downward spiral, pretty much the same, but even steeper for Asia and the Pacific. And now we're getting to really poorly. You have the world as an average. You can see how far it's dropped. Africa really has dipped, though it's starting to settle out a little bit. It's still dropping, though. And then, of course, Latin America and the Caribbean. It's so many species, and that only goes to 2020. There's been a whole other 4 years after. So many species in the world are just being poof, 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 dropped because of money. Something that you can't take fucking with you, but oh, they love that shit. Let's look at some historical images. Runaway teens rat on the left, 16 years of age, and Mike on the right, 17 years of age, showcase a Colt 45 they use for defense against getting robbed or kidnapped. And this photo was in the 1980s in Seattle. It really shows you how little some people care. This should have never got to this point. There should have been an attempt to house all Americans. Don't give me the bullshit. How will we afford it? How can we afford fucking pieces of garbage like Musk and Bezos and Gates and all these trash human beings to be fucking multi-billionaires while other Americans struggle? Fuck you. Fuck you. "14-year-old Philip Emeagwali, pictured with a Czech VZ-58 in July of 1969, was forcibly conscripted into the Biafran army during the Nigerian Civil War. He endured extreme hunger, surviving on minimal rations of gaudy palm kernel nuts and contaminated water. But he would live to share his story. We showed images from this point in history as well, talking about the Biafran army in Africa. So, yeah. Something to really look into. And one more image from history to kind of look at, just to give you a thought of how big these rockets are. Kennedy Space Center, human under a rocket for scale. This little bitty figure down here is a human. They barely come up to there on the rocket. Giving you an idea of just how big these rockets are. How gigantic they actually are. We really do need to find a better way to launch. We can't continue with how we have been doing. We need to find a reusable method. Because honestly, once the booster rockets and everything are off, these come back to Earth. Because the space shuttle has escaped gravity and is on its way. But yeah. Now let's look at some stories. This from the AP, Associated Press. The daughters of Malcolm X sue the CIA, the FBI, and the NYPD over the civil rights leader's assassination. For those of you who don't know, Malcolm X, for a long period of his life, was part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Because he believed in what was preached to him, that was the real idea. until he took it, I think it was his Hajj, his trip to the Holy Land of Mecca and Medina, and he actually met other Muslims who revealed the truth of Islam to him. And it changed who he was as an individual. It really did. And he came back, I won't say with less anger, but less hate in his heart. And was given a sermon at a church when gunmen burst in and assassinated him. Yeah, girls get them. Make them tell you what happened. Because the FBI, the CIA were definitely tracking his whereabouts. They tracked Dr. King, who never showed any level of aggression. You know they were tracking Malcolm X. From CNN, pregnant woman sues for the right to an abortion in a challenge to Kentucky's near total ban. I hope to God she wins. I want to see, you'll notice, even though these red states tried to put in these abortion bans, the people don't want them. The people do not want them. They've been voted down in a number of states by resolutions put up to vote, Democratic resolutions put up to vote to the people. And they would say, no, we do not want these abortion bans. We feel a woman has the right to the health care she requires. But anyway, from NBC News, 2 Missouri officers accused of stealing nude photos from dozens of women's phones at traffic stops. Former police officer and a former state trooper were charged in separate, unconnected cases this week. At least 29 women's phones were allegedly searched. Again, further proof of police being bastards. As I always say, ACAB. I believe it now more than ever. From Reuters, judge strikes down Biden overtime pay rule. Texas and business groups challenge the rule, citing improper wage base eligibility. My fucking ass. Labor Department may appeal, but Trump administration might not pursue revival. Previous salary threshold for overtime of $35,500 goes back in effect. So you gotta make that much before you can get overtime in Texas. Fuck you. That's why I would never go to fucking Texas. It's a shit state. Why humans would want to go there, I have no fucking clue. You know, workers should have the right to make their money and make their overtime money. Fuck you if you don't like it. You being rich doesn't mean you have the right to force others to be poor. Fuck you. Here's political discussion. Will the Senate reject Pete Hegseth? Do you think Pete Hegseth will be confirmed? Why or why not? I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts on this. I understand the Secretary of Defense is typically a career politician, and I get that Trump's goal is to drain the swamp, as he puts it. However, Trump did lose his pick for Senate leadership with Rick Shitfuck from Florida, and I'm wondering if there are enough Republicans who might vote against this. What do y'all think? Trying to get to the... Here we go. It's a test of the Senate Republicans want to be independent or subservient to Trump. If Hegseth and Gates gets in, then the Senate is a rubber stamp. If not, it will still be up in the air because they're still going to want to show loyalty. Yeah, this is 100% a loyalty test. Neither of these appointments make any sense other than to see if Republicans will rubber stamp. Spoiler, they will. Johnson and Thune will both agree to recess both houses of Congress so Trump can appoint all the pedophile, grifter, white power racists he wants, and the senators won't ever have to be on record of supporting any of them. I don't think Thune has enough votes to recess for long enough to legally allow recess appointments. I think I read something to that effect today, anyway. Let's hope. I really just expect full capitulation to their white power cult leader, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that's how it works. You need to recess for a certain amount of time, I think 10 days, to allow a recess appointment. Adjournment is at Congress's discretion alone, but an appointment requires majority. I thought it was more, but I guess I'm wrong. Votes of both houses if it is longer than 3 days. Majorities are narrow, especially in the House. Even so, I agree with you and would expect only moderate difficulty in reaching the necessary majorities. I wouldn't be surprised with either outcome. Even Gates saw a headline saying they don't have the votes to confirm them, but who knows? Yeah. So a lot of questioning on getting some of Trump's appointments through. He's picked some real dumb fucks so far, but what do you expect from dumb fuck Donnie? From the AP, Trump Pentagon pick has been flagged by fellow service member as possible insider threat. Pete Hegseth, the Army National Guard veteran and Fox News host, nominated by Donald Trump to lead the Department of Defense, was flagged as a possible insider threat by a fellow service member due to a tattoo on his bicep that's associated with white supremacist groups. Hegseth, who has downplayed his the role of military members and veterans in the January 6, 2021 attack and railed against the Pentagon's subsequent efforts to address extremism in the ranks, has said he was pulled by his District of Columbia National Guard unit from guarding Joe Biden's January 2021 inauguration. he said he was utterly unfairly identified as an extremist due to the cross tattoo on his chest. Well, most assholes who are extremists have tattoos like you do, extremist. From The Advocate, John Oliver slams Democrats who think transgender people lost them the election. Get 'em, John. Yeah. I'm sorry, but moving slightly to the right is not going to get you right-wing voters when they can just vote Republican. You've got to go left. You're not going to get anything else going right. You really aren't, and you're going to lose voters the further you go right. But they're too goddamn stupid. Too goddamn stupid to understand that. From the Hill, Jordan, Gates' ethics report shouldn't go public. And why not? Huh? He's up for a serious position. I think we should know what the fuck was going on. House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan said Thursday that former Representative Matt Gaetz' House Ethics Committee report shouldn't go public, pushing back on pressure to release it after he was tapped to potentially serve as President-elect Trump's Attorney General. Well, it is my understanding that it's not supposed to go public, so if it's not supposed to under the rules, it shouldn't go public. Uh-huh. I feel if you're going to serve Americans, Americans have a right to fucking know. But Republicans don't give a shit what fucking Americans deserve. They only give a shit what they fucking want. They don't give a fuck about Americans. From Truth Out, Trump isn't hiding plan to use military to quash protest and deport immigrants. The next time I'm not waiting before committing troops to suppress protests, Trump said in a rally on 2023. Yeah, I've been warning, but dumb fuckers don't feel it. Dumb fuckers don't see it. They don't know it, and they vote dumb fuck. And they put dumb fuck Donnie back in office, so what are you going to do when dumb fuckers don't vote for dumb fuckery? From the AP, Trump wants to end wokeness in education. He has vowed to use federal money as leverage. Don't you just love that America is going more and more pro-fascist and anti-woke? I don't want to be nice to people who don't get treated equally. Fuck people, I want to be as racist and shit-headed as I can fucking be. That's essentially Republicans and Trump, so, yeah. Fucking dipshits. NBC6 South Florida. Puerto Ricans vote symbolically again in favor of becoming a U.S. state. Any change to Puerto Rico's status needs Congress's approval, but it would first need to be a priority for congressional leaders, and it never has been. We've had Puerto Rico for over 100 years being an occupied U.S. territory. So, for over 100 years, there's been people there who have counted as Americans because they are under American rule. They are not considered a state. They have not been voted into the Union yet, but they are still considered as part of America. I have said this before and I'll say it again. Take Puerto Rico and the American Virgin Islands, combine them together as one U.S. state. Call it the American Caribbean. Or something to that effect, I would guess. But yeah. Because this has gone on long enough. Seriously. They're not that far off the freaking coast of Florida. Of any of our territories, they make the most sense. Our others are out in the freaking Pacific Ocean, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. At least Puerto Rico and American Virgin Islands are right there. Not that the American Virgin Islands will be there very long, as freaking sea levels rise from climate change. So we might not have to worry about that anyway. Fucking asshats. I mean, seriously. What is so fucking hard to understand about that? They're right there. They're not that far. It makes perfect sense. Hell, it makes more sense than fucking Hawaii did. But we had no problem annexing Hawaii, which is much, much, much further away. Hell, it's closer than damn Alaska. There's a separation between Alaska and the continental U.S. There is a stretch of miles of Canada that is longer than the set of ocean between Florida and Puerto Rico and the American Virgin Islands. So, it only makes fucking sense. I mean, seriously. From Axios. Sanders seeks to block the $20 billion in arms sales to Israel. I don't think his chances are great, but by all means, go for it, Bernie. See if you can block the sales of these shit fucks trying to give more weapons to the genocidal regime of Israel. Because at least they can't really accuse you of anti-Semitism. You're Jewish as well. That's why I really think you're the best option to fight against such a thing. So, yeah. If it ain't gonna let me read it, I'll just close. This is Hindustan Times. Bangladesh top official calls for removing secular from the Constitution, citing 90% Muslim population. Which, we've got kind of stuff similar going on here in the U.S. There's a Christian nationalist movement that's trying to suggest that, no, Christianism is supposed to be written into the Constitution because that's what the Founding Fathers wanted. No, if you go back and read Jefferson and Madison's writings, they'll tell you, motherfucker, We want secular because there should be a wall of separation. Anyway. From Northeastern Global News. I guess for Northeastern University. Perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Because it's from a northeastern.edu. Anyway, Uber and Lyft unintentionally sent gig workers' social security numbers to Meta and TikTok, new Northeastern research uncovers. Somehow I don't believe it was unintentional. The way most of these companies are just money hungry, they more than likely sold it to TikTok and Meta. Fuck Uber and Lyft. From Newsweek, Russian military airfield attacked in major drone strike. Ukrainian drones struck the Krasnodar region of southern Russia on Friday, with a major airfield seemingly the target, according to the RBC Ukraine. In a since-deleted social media post, Sergei Les, head of Krasnodar's Krymsky district, wrote, "The operational headquarters of the Krymsky district continues its work. During the night, 46 drones were neutralized over the district. There were no casualties among the civilian population. In the streets of the city, Unala and Kotsavala regions where drone parts fell have been cordoned off. Rescuers and all emergency services are on site." You can't really trust much of what's going on in this Russia-Ukraine conflict. Because, Russia wants to lie to save face, and Ukraine wants it to seem like they're really, really pushing back on Russia. So, it's one of these things that you can't trust either side. And from the New Arab, Dutch minister threatens to quit alleging racism in the cabinet. Deputy Finance Minister Noura Akaba reportedly threatened to resign over alleged racist comments made by her cabinet colleagues. Yeah, get them. Make them squirm. The cabinet is in crisis after State Secretary Noura Akbar of Benefits and Customs resigned from the cabinet following statements made by cabinet members about people with an immigrant background. Just plain old-fashioned racism. And she's like, I will not stand for that bullshit. Alright, let's watch some videos. First one here. Matt Gaetz confronted on his relationship with a minor.
Are you a pedophile? Are you a pedophile? Are you a pedophile? Are you a pedophile, Congressman Gates? Are you a pedophile? Congressman, are you a pedophile? Are you a pedophile, Congressman Gates?
We start with breaking news here today, and President-elect Donald Trump's
Oh,
nomination
it's
of
so
Matt Gaetz for
fucking
Attorney
awesome.
General.
Are you a pedophile, Mr. Gates? Oh, make him run like the little bitch he is. Anyway, next video here. Ben Crump announces filing of lawsuit on behalf of Malcolm X's family.
As we come up on the eve of the 60-year anniversary into the assassination of Malcolm X, we here today officially announce the filing of our $100 million lawsuit against the United States government, the FBI, the CIA, and the NYPD, who we believe all conspired to assassinate Malcolm X, one of the greatest thought leaders of the 21st century. It is not lost on us that justice has been delayed in this matter. And on this momentous occasion, we stand ready to lay out our complaint very soundly. We believe there is solid ground to go forward with this lawsuit at this time. We're not just making history, but we're making a path for justice. We believe a precedent and setting path for justice for those who have been denied justice by the American legal system for far too long.
Yep. Sorry, I was just looking at this woman over here. Something nice about looking at her. She's kind of cute. She is cute. Let's be honest. Anyway, yeah. New Zealand's parliament was briefly suspended after Maori members staged a haka to disrupt the vote on a contentious bill that would reinterpret a 184-year-old treaty between the British and indigenous Maori. Yeah, the Maori are the original people that inhabited modern-day New Zealand. I think it was the war dance is what it was supposed, what the haka did. Before going to war, they would have a haka. it's turned into a celebration form before their matches. So yeah. Still pretty awesome. Conservative influencer Emily Wilson proposes state-by-state decision on slavery?
The right to get an abortion back to the state, leading like
I think it should be
65,000
state by state.
victims of sexual abuse. Okay, why?
That's fine. I think if everyone in a state wants something, go ahead and have it.
So if everyone in Alabama wanted slavery back, you'd be okay with that?
Sure. If everyone in the state wants it, go ahead. What do I give a
All right. Well, let's go next topic. I'm getting nervous.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
You understand that that was the same argument that the Confederacy upheld, right? So do you wish that the Confederacy won the war because according to your worldview, the Union impeded upon the state's ability to legislate?
No, but it's an irrelevant argument.
No, so you're glad that the Union won?
Like, I'm not some, like, psychopath. Like, I live in LA. I'm not some crazy right-wing person.
So now you're saying it's
But if
psychotic to
everyone
say
in
that.
the state wants something, sure, let them have it.
You agree with the Confederacy?
No.
But the Articles of the Confederation.
All right, we have to move on. We got limited time here.
These gotcha moments don't work on me. I'm not a... Like,
Okay,
it's
Emily,
not
don't get upset.
Okay.
Don't get upset.
And
She was the one who said something stupid. He's just trying to make sense of it. He's like, look, do you believe this or do you not? This isn't a trick question. This isn't a trick setup. I am just confronting what you just fucking said. She's like, I don't, no, yeah. So, you were the stupid fucker that said it, dumbass. Fucking right-wingers are so goddamn stupid, but people still listen to them like, they're so smart. What the fuck is wrong with people? Israeli settlers make the West Bank olive groves a battleground.
In Palestine, the olive harvesting season is not just about olives. It's about financial, cultural enrichment wrapped up in identity. And in the Jordan Valley on the occupied West Bank, that means violence is never far away. For militant settlers intent on displacing Palestinian farmers here, olive groves are the battleground. We're from Channel 4 News in Britain, not only empowered by the current Israeli administration, funded by them as well. So the quad bike that almost ran us over...
I paid for it, yes.
As an Israeli taxpayer?
As an Israeli taxpayer, yes.
We're following a busload of Israeli human rights activists into the olive groves near the village of Bet Hassan on the West Bank. So we're approaching the olive groves now. We're in Area B, which means Palestinian civil control, Israeli military control. The activists are here to help a Palestinian family harvest the crop and to monitor the activity of an extremist settler called Moshe Sharvit. His farm, illegal under both Israeli and international law, overlooks the grove. Even before we arrive, he makes his presence felt, hitting the side of our car. Sharvit believes he has a God-given right to be here on someone else's land. Armed with a gun and a smartphone, he's not bothered about the attention. In fact, he's enjoying this. Privilege by divine decree. He is sanctioned by multiple countries. We literally just arrived, and he came speeding over the hill on a quad. Obviously wants everyone to know that the settlers are here, eyes are on this group. It's an act of intimidation, basically. The international community has imposed sanctions on him and others across the West Bank. The reasons for the British sanctions against Sharvit were because he, quote, used physical aggression, threatened families at gunpoint, and destroyed property as part of a calculated effort to displace Palestinian community.
Again, you try to separate individuals from the state when it comes to looking at this conflict, this genocide, but it gets harder and harder when there's assholes like that who make it clear they don't give a shit.
In this case, the Razak extended family. They own the olive grove and have the paperwork to prove it. Sharvit and others are slowly grinding down their farm, from ransacking their home one night to hundreds of acts of sabotage, of fencing, watering systems, olive trees.
حقد عنده بكره العرب يعني ما بيحب يشوفهم بده يعيش هو بس بده يعيش على الدنيا هو بدوش عرب من مرة هذا يعني اللي في وجهه بس.
We're interrupted by a phone call from over at the olive grove. Israeli soldiers have arrived and are asking for people's ID. This woman's brother-in-law has left his at home. She's too afraid to go there herself for now, so asks us to bring it to him.
From his family, not her husband. He's there.
Okay.
It was the military.
Here's how this works. Sharvit, the settler, manufactures a security incident. The IDF are called in to respond. Then a military exclusion zone is sometimes applied for, which hampers the olive harvest. None of this, of course, features in Moshe Sharvit's online video, where his wife appeals for donations.
There aren't enough Jews living here.
But that's not the only revenue stream. Haggett Ofran researches where settlers get their money from.
The settlements are based on government money. Without the government, there were no settlements at all. All the infrastructure, all the services, everything is coming from the taxpayer, the Israeli taxpayer. Specifically, the settlements that are official get it officially, and those that are, according to the Israeli regulations, considered not to be legal, they also make their way to get money from the government, but this is less official.
That includes grants to illegal settlements like Sharvit's from the Department of Agriculture via regional councils, and grants to look after disadvantaged young people who then become the foot soldiers of harassment. The Israeli Department of Agriculture told us that grazing subsidies are given regardless of a farmer's place of residence. These aren't the only pots of money, though.
There is an organization called Amana, which is very big and strong organization, and they helped the beginning of all those farms.
So, what's Amana? It's a very rich, well-connected settlement construction company. The Sharvits are on record saying it helped them set up their farm. Amana was also sanctioned by the British government last month. In leaked audio, Amana's chief executive says supporting illegal outposts was corporate policy.
הגענו ל-100 קילומטר מרובע אחרי 50, קצת למעלה מ-50 שנה. בשלוש השנים האחרונות אנחנו יצאנו להיקף הגדול. יש להם היום שטח של קרוב לפי 2 משטח יישובים הבנויים.
Back on the Palestinian farm after the encounter with the IDF, the activists leave, so do we. And as we do, hear the roar of the settlers' quad come back round again with another threat. The family told us later he put it to them simply this time: leave or die.
Yeah, it makes it harder. To see the people as people when this kind of shit is going on. Just ridiculous. This is what happened when Palestinians tried anti-violent resistance. Excuse me.
Beginning March 30th, 2018, they tried nonviolent civil resistance. And what was the Israeli response? There's a 250-page, single-spaced UN report describing the response. Israel took its best snipers, lined them up along the perimeter fence, while there was this festive atmosphere among the Palestinians. There was music, there was dancing, there was song. The snipers, I'm quoting the report, intentionally targeted children, medics, journalists, disabled people. They described double amputees 300 meters from the perimeter fence that Israel shot. When they didn't kill them, they targeted them from the kneecap down, paralyzed them. One Israeli sniper boasted to Haaretz newspaper he shot 42 kneecaps in one day. 42 children and adults paralyzed for life.
Yeah. Israel needs to severely be cracked down on for this kind of bullshit. Pro-Israel activists taunt and harass Ilhan Omar, the Democrat representative from Minnesota, before trying to gift her a pager, a threatening reference to Israel's attack on both innocent civilians and Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon using explosive-laden pagers.
No, I'm sorry, you're not allowed in the elevator.
I'm going. Oh, go to Gaza, sweetheart, go to Gaza. What are you doing? Why do you stand with Hamas? Why do you stand with Hamas? Why don't you condemn Hamas, Ilhan? Why don't you condemn Hamas? Why don't you condemn Israel and Iranian Americans who are being killed there? Would you just condemn Hamas? Would you just say that it's wrong to take hostages? You condemn Hamas? Just say you condemn Hamas. Just say I condemn Hamas. Omar, condemn Hamas. Do you condemn Hamas or no? You like Hamas? You like Hezbollah? You stand with the IRGC? IRGC. You stand with Hamas?
Okay? Thank you so much.
I will try to avoid my second strike.
So we go in the other room?
I don't know. Where are we going? Let's go. I'd like to go hear the...
Fuckers like that should never be treated as kind human beings, because they aren't. What pisses me off when they cry, oh, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism, and then they're the most racist pieces of fucking garbage. Anyway, this video, Epstein was Trump's closest friend for 10 plus years. Compilation of the evidence.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
I saw you at the celebrity chef dinner here in New York.
And what a kiss.
You kissed me on the lips in front of the paparazzi, and I said, that'll cost you. I'm booking you on the show.
I know, that's
True story,
The
correct?
kiss was so good, and it was so open and nice. She is a fabulous woman. And I
So
guess that's
open and
good.
nice. Wait a
And her
minute.
husband is a handsome devil, I'll tell you. He's a good guy. But I think he had his back turned at the time. But, so we had a good time.
What kind of woman
not
do
my
you
choice.
like?
I think my choice might be you. Look at the legs on her. Boy. Could be good.
Can you imagine how controversial I'd be? You think about Clinton with the women. How about me with the women? Can you imagine?
Well, I mean, I think there is a certain controversy to me, and I am single, and I do go out with women.
Donald Trump is the Hugh Hefner of the 90s.
In the 1990s, Donald Trump was building a reputation for himself as a ladies' man.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's
She's
unbelievable.
tall. She's almost 6 feet tall.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Donald Trump has always been proud of his daughter. He was front row when Ivanka took to the catwalk during her short-lived career as a fashion model. Still, Donald Trump repeatedly points out how hot his daughter is, saying last year in a Rolling Stone article, "Yeah, she's really something, and what a beauty, that one. If I weren't happily married, and, you know, her father."
My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
Yeah, she's hot.
I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
Donald Trump loves a beauty pageant, and by his own admission, he was no stranger backstage while owning parts of 3 different pageants for nearly 2 decades.
You know, they're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
In 2001, Tasha Dixon was Miss Arizona, competing in the Miss USA pageant. She experienced this kind of awkward moment firsthand.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Dixon was 18 at the time and says watching Trump storm into a dressing room was shocking.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention. Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So there's no one to complain to. Everyone there works for him.
I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it.
You're like
everything is good.
Later in that same show, Trump is asked if he'd ever had sex with Miss USA or Miss Universe contestants.
Never comment on things like that.
Give us the first letter of the country you had sex with him.
How many letters are there?
After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests. Among them, the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter. But as the president says now, he never liked Epstein.
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
Yet, there's all this proof of you hanging out with him and Ghislaine Maxwell.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight. Look, I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Yep. This is how Trump really fucking is. But people act like, oh, he's a saint. He's such a good person. No, he's a human pile of garbage. This is what the Israeli army did to our home. They destroyed it and displaced me and my family. Yeah, we're getting a look at the house that's just ransacked and devastated. Graffitied. This ain't the work of an army, it's the work of a bunch of thugs. Period. Wasn't work of a military, it was the work of a street gang. It's all the IDF is. Thugs and street gangs. They're not a real military. They run around pretending they are, but they're not. Fuck them. United Nations Rapporteur Francesca Albanese calls out the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy for denying genocide in Gaza during his address to the UK Parliament last month. Lammy got a lawyer, did not appear to understand the definition of genocide under the Genocide Convention.
Mr. Lammy was a lawyer. So I said, I mean, as a politician, you might say that for political convenience. You are still a genocide denier. Because, excuse me, what are you saying? You see, it's interesting because he's referring to cases of where genocide has resulted in sort of an industrial scale of killing, of mass extermination, like in Rwanda and during the Holocaust. But it's not the numbers of those killed who determines whether or not there is genocide, and any lawyer would know that. So I was surprised. And this is even more serious to me. Because, you know, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, 8,000 people were found dead were killed in Srebrenica. I understand that certain jurisprudence might have inclined Mr. Lammy to conclude what he said, but
yeah, Bosnia-Herzegovina, I think, if I remember right, we're talking about Milosevic. Yeah, that was some serious war crimes. It's just, he's... It really is just mystifying how people can just wave it off like it's nothing.
But by doing so, he's denying that genocides occurred in the case of Australia or Canada or the United States, where the genocide was carried out primarily not through mass killing, but to cutting the bloodline of the Aboriginals so that they could disappear in the white European colonizers' society.
Even the UK government recognizes the genocide against the Yazidis, for example, or what happened in the former Yugoslavia, in Srebrenica.
But absolutely, genocide is not determined by the numbers of those killed. Plus, genocide should be prevented. So the question to Mr. Lemmy is, what is the UK doing to prevent acts of genocide? Because the International Court of Justice has recognized the plausibility of genocide. And also, how does he qualify the total destruction of Gaza from homes, mosques, churches, hospitals, bakeries? Again, as I said, farming land. There is nothing left in Gaza to reconstitute life. Why 17,000 children were killed under our watch? What has the UK done to stop it? Nothing.
Yeah. Same here in the U.S. I'm ashamed of our government, especially those under the influence of AIPAC. It's sad that so many people have sold their souls. For what? Anyway, last video. A mother's warning. Talk to your sons about radical content.
They are being radicalized online. They are being radicalized by their friends. We live in Florida. Everything around them in this entire system is telling your boys to be like all of those white men who voted for Trump, to hate women, to see them as property, to devalue anything that they think or do. You have to talk to them. You have to bring it up. You have to point out the system to them. You have to teach them. Have the hard conversations. Share your experience. Share your feelings. You have to talk to your sons, because I promise you they are already being talked to through gaming, YouTube, everything. Their feeds are filled with rhetoric to hate women. You have to talk to your sons.
Yeah. Respect for women should begin at a young age. Anyway. We'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate by yourself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.